And that's the power of follow-ups. Now, I'm not talking about follow-ups to your existing patient base, which is like reminding them of their 6-month, it has to be done consistently. And I don't want to talk in both sides of my mouth here, but I don't want you to over automate it. But if automation's all you have time for, then do that, because doing that is better than nothing. So if they can just go to that playbook, you could drag somebody in off the street and say, I want you to do our follow-up sequence for us. They can go to this playbook, open it up, and step by step, it shows them exactly how to do it.
Welcome to the Dental Marketing Podcast, a podcast that helps dentists win in the online world of modern-day marketing. Each week, we cover the most cutting-edge marketing tactics and strategies that are working right now across our client base to drive leads, phone calls, and more new patients for dentists. Now, here's your host and founder of Kickstart Dental Marketing, Chris Pistorius.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris Pistorius, and I'm the host of the No BS Dental Growth Podcast. On this show, we talk about straight to the point, no BS tactics, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your dental practice. Now, there's no fluff here. It's just straight to the point, great information that you can start using immediately to help you grow your dental practice. So if you're a dental practice owner or a manager or really whatever, please do subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on this page so that you're notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, today I want to talk about something really important that most dental practices miss. I would say 9.8 out of the 10 new dental practices that I talk to don't really have a process for this in place, and they don't understand the impact that it can have on their bottom line month over month, year over year. And that's the power of follow-ups. Now, I'm not talking about follow-ups to your existing patient base, which is like reminding them of their 6-month appointment reminder, or if they need to be reactivated, things like that. That's pretty easy, right? And if you're not doing that, then that's a red flag as well. So that's definitely something you should be doing. But today I want to talk about the patients that don't schedule with you when they call you. So the ones that call in and they say, looking for an appointment, I have this insurance, you give them information, they're like, all right, we'll give you a call back. How do you follow up with those people? I'm guessing most of you are thinking right now, well, why would I follow up with them? They're probably not a good patient, and we don't follow up with them. Well, I can tell you you're wrong. A lot of those, not all of them, but some to a lot, are actual good patients that get busy, they get distracted, they forget about you, they forget about the process, and they don't follow up with you. And unless you follow up with them and you have a system in place to be able to follow up with them, you're never going to hear from them again, likely. This is going on 16 years that I've been in dental marketing, and I've got numbers to stack up and prove this, of how many missed calls, how many people that call in and leave voicemails, how many people call and say they need to talk to their husband or wife or whatever, people that have to check their calendar, they have to check their insurance. These are all distractions to keep them away from your practice. You have to take a more proactive approach with these people and actually do follow-ups with them, and not just one follow-up. There's studies that show that up to 3 to 5 follow-ups will increase those new patients being scheduled by almost 40%. So let's say you get 20 of these a month, which is probably pretty conservative depending on what size of practice you are. You get 20 of these people that don't wind up scheduling on the first call, and they say they'll call you back, whatever it might be. What if you could close 40% more of those? What kind of impact would that have on your bottom line month over month, year over year? Right? It's a pretty big impact is what it is. Core idea that I'm really trying to ingrain here is you need to create a follow-up process for patients that don't book on the first call. You need to have some sort of a process in place to put these folks in your database, in a database. That's not good enough though. Then you've got to take the next step and take action and actually have somebody follow up with them. Email, text message, phone call, whatever it may be. That needs to exist in your practice today to really take advantage of all the calls that you have coming in, especially if you're doing marketing campaigns. If you're paying an agency like ours to do marketing campaigns for you, and 40% of those people say they'll call you back and they don't ever, then that's a big amount of money. That could definitely cost you conversions. So most practices that I've worked with in the past and that I interview on a consistent basis are just really focused on the primary inbound leads, but have no real system for what happens when a potential patient doesn't schedule right away. So I call this the leak, and the leak is real and it exists, and it's something that you need to really identify and fix. We talked about the missed revenue opportunities that are there. Some examples are like need time to think about it, or, comparing options, or worried about concerns. But what I found is that a lot of these folks are just shopping around. They're looking around at other options, right? They're certainly insurance is a big deal, but they're also, the reason they don't even want to come to you and see you is because of time, fear, and or money. Those are the big three. Right. And so what you have to do when you talk to these folks is be able to get them over those three factors. Right. And even if you can on the first call, when you follow up, those are factors that have to be addressed because those are going to be their biggest concerns for sure. Why does follow up work? I've got a couple of ideas. It's human nature. People often need multiple touch points before making a decision. In fact, 90% of the people that go to a dental practice's website the first time don't take action. Now, I don't have the stat on how many that actually call you and don't take action is, but I know that of all the stats that we keep, we track how many potential new patients who've never called the practice before, what percentage actually are closed on that first call. And it's about 50%, give or take. There's some that are doing really well above 60%. And there's some that aren't doing very well around 30%. But around half the new patients that call in the first time are being closed. Our goal for our clients is 60%. We want at least 60% of those verified good leads actually scheduled on that first call. So that still leaves 40% that aren't. There are 40% of good leads that aren't scheduled. The reasons that they're hesitant is because of that time, money, and fear factor. They've also got a lot going on. They got kids, they got life going on, and they get distracted and they kind of forget about it. And first of all, it's not something they want to do anyway, right? So it's very easy to get distracted and just put that, on the back burner. Whereas a follow-up touch point, somebody calling them and say, hey, Margaret, you called in 2 days ago and you said you were going to take a look at some options. And I just wanted to follow up and, see if you found somebody that works for you, good practice that you think fits for you, or where are you in that process? And that could very well trigger Margaret into thinking, yeah, I got distracted. I put it on the back burner. You're right. Yeah, let's go ahead and schedule that appointment. I think that it's really important to understand how that second, third, and even fourth interaction can make a big difference when we talk about leading to a higher likelihood of conversion.
Are you looking to grow your practice but are a little unclear on what the best way is? Let us help you out. We have over 13 years of experience in helping practices just like yours increase new patient growth. Just go to kickstartdental.com and sign up for a free strategy session where we will give you some great insights on how to take your practice to the next level.
Here's a few things that I would do if I were you, if I didn't have a process in place right now for this. And, a lot of other types of organizations like plumbers, HVAC people, my business, for instance, we do have these follow-up processes and we've been using them for years very effectively. The first thing you've got to have is something, a CRM, maybe your software already will do this, but it tracks inbound leads. So it'll track all the calls that come in and people can easily put in notes in that. And I'm not talking about just patient software, right? This is software that can track all of your incoming leads and where you can put notes and you can create your follow-up system within that CRM. If you need some help with that, let me know. I've got a lot of good ideas with that. Second biggest thing, other than tracking these and putting them in some sort of a database, is actually doing timely follow-ups. I'm not talking about a week from the time they call in, you get around to emailing them or maybe, picking up the phone and calling them. No, you got to do it quickly because as you know, as I preach to everybody all the time, people are impatient and they're looking down a list, usually on Google, practices that they really want to contact. And if you don't get back to them quickly, they're already going to be scheduled with somebody else, potentially. Don't wait around. 24 hours, 48 hours at the very most. From that first touch point, you need to really be following up. And multiple touch points, not just one. We do a mixture of text message, email, and phone calls here. And there's automated ways to do some of this. Automated isn't always the best. I would always have somebody from your office have a touch point of picking up the phone and physically calling them. So what I do here is 5 to 7 touch points after we talk to somebody or an inbound lead comes in. We'll follow up 5 to 7 times total over the span of about 10 days, right? 10 days is for dentistry is going to be a little long, but I think you need to have multiple touch points in there for sure. And it has to be a customized message. Don't try to over automate this and send the same thing to everybody, right? Because somebody might have an interesting comment they made in their conversation with you. And if you can remember that and then transition that into the message of the follow-up, that can help you be more personalized and more humanized and know that they're actually caring to make sure that you were taken care of. I think it's really important that, that the front desk staff is swift, and quick with this and customized in their approach of returning calls. Now, when you return these calls, you may also even be able to talk about some things you weren't able to cover on the first call. So like you need to be able to offer value. One thing is that if you follow up with an email, and somebody was interested in dental implants, maybe that email will include a little brochure on your dental implants or 10 things you need to know before you make a decision to do dental implants, something like that. FAQs could be good, a short video about dental implants, just information on the practice even can be very helpful to people when you do those follow-ups. And you can do incentives too, depending on what kind of practice you are. If you've got some sort of new patient special, I would hope you would have mentioned that on the first call with them. But if not, or even just to remind them that you have some sort of promotion or new patient special, just any sort of encouragement that you could give them to be able to take action. And I think it's important to stay persistent. Many practices don't do this at all, but also another round of these practices, they give up after the first follow-up or at the very most second. I don't think I've ever heard of a practice doing more than 2 follow-ups on calls like this. The studies show that it takes 3, 4, 5, even 7 or more touch points to get a response. So those are all things to talk about in terms of follow-up strategies that get results. I think it's also important with these to increase conversions is to share stories. Maybe if somebody looking for full arches or dramatic cosmetic procedures, you can talk about a patient you had recently that had this done, right? And what their results were and how they felt once that was done. That's pretty advanced stuff, but this is the next level stuff that can take your practice from being okay or even below average to that next step. There's no magic bullet in marketing, right? It's a combination of doing a lot of things right. You're going to do a lot of things wrong too, but this is just one of those factors of things that can really separate you from the competition and make you much more successful. Let's talk a little bit about how you can build your follow-up system. If you have one, audit it, make sure it's working right, make sure it's being done, not just every once in a while or when somebody has time. It has to be done consistently. And I don't want to talk in both sides of my mouth here, but I don't want you to over-automate it. But if automation's all you have time for, then do that, because doing that is better than nothing, right? Done is better than perfect. I would rather each one be a phone call, personalized, but I also understand there's restraints on that too. So if you don't have a CRM or a database or anything like that to track these inbound leads, use a spreadsheet. Use Google Sheets. It's brand new, it's free, and it's a great way to just get started. Because what gets tracked gets done typically. So if you're having inbound leads put in there and people are putting them in there and putting notes on if they followed up and how many touch points, then that could be a great way to do it. Develop templates for these too. You can still automate with templates, but still have humanized components to it. So put 90% of it as a template and then put places in it for them to do customized typing as well, or for emails, text messages, things like that. And train your front desk. Don't just hire somebody and just because they've been doing this for 10 to 20 years, they know everything. That's the wrong way to do it. You need to be doing weekly trainings with your front desk staff. And this is one of those trainings. This is probably worth several trainings, actually. Document the trainings. Document exactly how it is that you want them to follow up, how to track it, how to do all these different things, and have it like in an operations playbook, if you will, so that they can just go to that playbook. You could drag somebody in off the street and say, I want you to do our follow-up sequence for us. They can go to this playbook, open it up, and step by step, it shows them exactly how to do it. Really good practices have these operations manuals for all of their processes and procedures, right? It takes time, it takes effort, but when you have that, it makes training people much easier, and it's a little bit more of a plug and play type system. That's a podcast for the next podcast. Maybe it'll be on that. So train. And just kind of closing out here, this is something I'm pretty passionate about because, I see a lot of practices that come to us that say their marketing isn't working. What they're doing with other agencies isn't working, and is there something that we can do? Well, there is, but I also want to make sure that my practices and my clients aren't just saying, hey, here's a credit card, go fill up our seats, right? That's a lot of it, but we need some work from you guys too, right? We need you to be able to do things like this, follow-ups, and just, the leads that are generated to you. Make sure you follow up on those and you get them all the way to the end. Now, that is, of course, one thing that we do. We provide these follow-up sequences for our clients if they want to use them. They don't have to. If they've already got a system in place to do this, that's great. But if not, it's something that we do for them, and it's something that we can do for you too. There's no question this is something you could probably build out on your own and figure out. But if you don't want to have to do that and you want to use the expertise of somebody that's been doing it for 16 years to do this for you at a pretty low cost, let me know. I'd be more than happy to come in and just consult, take a look at what you have, and I won't charge you anything for it. Or if you want to have us do it, let me know and we can talk about that as well. So I hope this helped. We could go on for hours kind of talking about the details of it, but I just want to kind of give you the idea and stress the importance of these follow-ups, not just for existing patients, but the patients that don't schedule that first time. So I hope it's helped. And I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen today. I know how busy everybody is. And again, if you do like this podcasts we've done in the past, please do hit that subscribe button because it will notify you as soon as we drop a new episode. We look forward to seeing everybody on the next episode. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Dental Marketing Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, www.kickstartdental.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you are ready to grow your practice, then you might want to schedule a free strategy session with us. Just go to kickstartdental.com and click the free strategy session button and give us 15 minutes of your time to change your practice forever. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. And thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Podcast by Kickstart Dental Marketing, where dentists go to win online.